Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Satsang. Let's make some silence first. Nothing matters. Nothing is really important to make your attention move. Life is meaningless, automatic, mechanical in nature. Nothing to achieve, no one to show it to. Stay in silence, abstracted from investments. There's this sentence, more or less, many are called, few are chosen. I would make a slight change in this. Many are called, few embrace that calling. Few dedicate completely to that calling. Few elect themselves to follow that calling. More suitable. A seeker of truth is the one who has a calling. Not a calling to secure his future, not a calling for safety, not a calling for acceptance, for love, for all those things, but a calling for the truth, for the source, for infinite divine love. A calling that disturbs his heart, disturbs his peace, that makes him just flip his life upside down if needed, searching for something he doesn't really know what it is, but still going for it. And when this calling appears, there's no need to go and learn very complex elaborations, because, well, knowledge, information, let's put it this way, information is endless. And so it's knowledge, but who wants that? So getting a spiritual practice, a meditation technique, is enough to begin with. And then, with that technique, you apply your whole heart, your whole time on it, so that your process becomes alive, so that it grows, so that the fire can arise. So giving your whole heart to that meditation practice, using all the time you have for it. And I'm not talking about looking at your whole schedule and then choosing 2 spaces or 1 space to fit that meditation there. No, just forget about everything and just focus on that meditation. And preparing your mind to surrender, welcoming, asking for guidance. Because guidance guides, teaches, sustains, and whatever knowledge is needed for you, it will be there, acquired by that interaction, by the learnings you will get from the tests you'll be exposed to. Not all knowledge, but the necessary knowledge. So not all those years, but the necessary time. So you don't apply 100% of the time to your quest. And then you say, well, but this can take lifetimes. Well, of course it can. If you're not using your time available, it can take lifetimes. And your time, the necessary time, will exceed in unforetold ways if there's no life in the process, if your practice is just mechanical, if you have any to start with, and if you do, if it's just gotten mechanic, if it is fitting the normal life, and if you're searching through here because this is what's left, if the life of the process is not there. And for those who are thinking, but what is this life of the process? It means it is not there. And following your ideas, this is the sure way to remain in illusion. And you will follow these teachings, this knowledge, this and that. But that doesn't mean, and by far, it really is not the knowledge that you need. The knowledge that you need is according to your own illusion. This only guidance can drive you. From that infinite knowledge, the one that you really need, not the one for sure that you think you need. So this takes a long time, all my life, or probably more lives, of course. If you are guaranteeing future, by your present investments, so what to expect? So by your actions, you are making sure that this takes many lifetimes. And then with the thought this takes many lifetimes, so let me just enjoy. So what does meditation do in this context? It's not what it does, but it's just a small fraction of meditation, but an important aspect for you to understand the science behind of it. The purification process that meditation unleashes. It is also about burning sanskars. For those who know, sanskars are the mental impressions that are behind karma, that creates the future, shapes personality, that's one aspect, but also as sanskars are still there, they have to be experienced, enjoyed. There's no other way, unless they are burned into the fire of meditation. So as it is for knowledge, this karma that has given rise to this body has to be lived. There's no deviating from that. If you're enlightened or not, you will have to live it. The difference is, if you're not enlightened, you're living it. If you're enlightened, the body, mind is living it. That's all. And then it stops, and the other one continues. So this one is unavoidable. On this linear journey, The journey of the seeker of truth is, as the body is moving in his linear way, following his own karma, there is a rise in consciousness, a different journey, because this doesn't even need the presence of the seeker of truth. He has all time available for his quest. And all the time you have now, you can be using it to burn these sanskars, superficial, deep-rooted, everything. And that is through the fire of meditation. It's not through meditation. Attention, is through the fire of meditation. That means meditation has to be alive, not just as form, or I sit for so long and so long. Fire has to be there. And it is that fire that burns these sanskars. In the absence of this fire, it is telling you, look, if you're there meditating, no fire, that means too much investment still. And there's no point in comparing yourself to anyone else. It is exclusive to you, to your needs. And you will have to make the changes needed and get the focus which your own process is requiring until that fire appears. When that fire appears, it has to be sustained and increased. But then fire also guides, even if it is just by its presence, absence, or intensity. And it is the fire of meditation that burns these sanskars. At least, what does this mean? Well, if not the gate to liberation, but the steps towards it. Making sure that there is no future. Well, I'm seeing some Italian here on Instagram. If you can translate it, if it is important to satsang, please translate it to English or Portuguese or even French, because this I cannot understand it, and if I have to look for translation, it takes too long. Ah, não, está com internet. Chegou sim. So this is what it really means. A seeker of truth is the one who is intensely following his calling. Many are called, few embrace completely that calling. Majority is just distracted. That is the best name for it. Because it is, eventually, it sums up to either you're distracted or not. If you're completely focused on your spiritual quest, you will know the fire. You will feel the fire. If you're not feeling it, you're distracted. Doesn't matter if you're distracted in just a worldly environment or in a spiritual one. It makes no difference. Blindness doesn't choose places, circumstances. And for what I've seen, it's easier for a worldly person without any spiritual knowledge to turn itself completely into the quest for truth more fast and more sincerely than someone who is already into spirituality and has learned a lot of things. And I have seen this again and again. The one who is coming from these yoga movements have no idea of what's that all about, but it must be frenetic. One thing that they take at least 3 hours to understand, someone who comes from the worldly environment, just pushed by pain, usually understands the same concept in 15 to 20 minutes. So what happened? What has happened? Well, I'll leave that to scholars. But understand what a seeker of truth is. It is the one who has the calling, and it is the one who is giving itself to that calling. Calling has many levels, but the one who embraces it can embrace it at many levels also. And that's what makes the difference between a seeker of well-being and a seeker of truth. One is curiosity-driven, or many other things. The other, it's his purpose of existing. It doesn't mean that he doesn't have all attachments, all the other things that the seeker of well-being has. It doesn't mean that they are same in that sense. It's what they're willing to do and what their priorities are. That's what differentiates. And this movement, this big awakening that people are talking about, I haven't seen it so far. Not even sure what that means. Probably I'm so confused with this new movement of awakening. Like probably most of you are confused, like I am in that sense. Probably most of you are confused when I talk about the fire of meditation. We are both let with the same expression in our faces. What is he talking about? So this new movement has produced a lot of professionals, whatever that means. And that is for sure a new concept of emptiness. Nothing from circumstances, from the outside, nothing is visible to determine a seeker of truth. And the seeker of truth is the only one that can really teach. And he teaches by example. Well, he can use words also, but he is the only one. And he only teaches if guidance tells him so, not according to his own will, personal will, not according to his needs for safety, for whatever. Because I understand this, where this has come, and it comes from good intentions, sometimes, for some seekers. Oh, if I turn my work into this, then the circumstances will be better for my spiritual work. But without guidance, it is disastrous, because it leads to distraction. Nothing is innocent. So the only seekers of truth that teaches are the ones that are guided towards teaching. And they teach as long as guidance is telling them to do so. And it's always about their own learning, not about their teachings. And it fits their process, not by their own choice, but by guidance. And there's nothing to certify this. Of course, there are some signs that can be seen if you have access to them, but not visible, for sure. No guarantees of anything. So if you have this calling and it's got lost through time, through distractions, maybe it's still time, maybe. And it is the same recipe. Forget about everything else. Embrace a meditation technique, a meditation. It doesn't need to be the meditation. Then guidance takes care if it comes, if it's still possible. And for sure, it's always possible for those who don't give up. But this is a different chapter. But it's the same recipe. Dedicate yourself completely to that meditation, and if you're sincere enough, fire will begin. And you have your own ideas about the journey of your life, even if you don't know you have them. But your path of liberation has also its own ideas. So either you let go of yours and follow guidance, or, well, both cannot remain at the same time. So if you got lost somewhere on the path, maybe it's still time. Maybe. In your part, sit intensely. Dedicate your time to it until guidance appears, until the fire appears. And for the seeker of truth, even the absence of guidance, the absence of fire, is guidance, telling him it's not enough, you're not doing enough. And it's up to you to find out what is still there. Well, if you haven't let go of anything, then it will be obvious. There's a lot of things to choose from, but even that can even not be enough. Depends on what you need. And the absence of fire is giving you that answer. And it's up to you to find out or to just resume normal life. And this is where we see who is a seeker of truth and who's not. And okay, so I will say the name because it came from the comments, so no problem. Annette, we have learn to be attached. This is probably not your mother tongue. It's not mine also, so we'll do the best we can. We have learned to be attached. How not to? Because you learn that's love. You have done many things in that way, and it's hard to see. Yes, I have a call here, very, well, big calling. There was nothing to learn, but unlearn, yes, unlearn, that's not true and never has been. Nor it is true to unlearn, I mean. Well, this translation sometimes... Well, you need to find your trail. That's what I was talking about. It's about following your trail. Recognize and follow your trail. You have learned many things, but that is pointless, useless. Well, you know that whatever you have learned has shaped the way you see the world, you see yourself. And that is the basis of your illusion. This you know. So whatever it is, well, it's not that. And instead, sometimes it's inevitable because, well, seekers simply don't know that through a meditation technique you can tap into the life of the process. But it has to be honest, sincere. This is why people just look outside through others, because it is easier. They can acquire it fast. They don't have to earn it. They don't have to deserve it. They can just take it, but it will be empty. It will be empty. Meditation gives you a clear-cut positioning towards the world, towards beliefs, towards the quest. You sit for meditation, you close your eyes, you abstract from all your surroundings, and you focus on the technique. So whatever you have seen all your life as the real, you are closing your eyes to it and abstracting from it. This is very important. This is very important. The technique can also have many importances, and it does, for sure. But the biggest importance is abstracting, holding on to it, to abstract from the rest. This is how the rest, the power the rest has over you, starts reducing, open ways for something, for the path to transcend it. And it is also reshaping you, purifying, preparing you to face the various levels of your delusion, to meet with them face to face. So whatever you have learned so far, you know it is the basis of your illusion. So you cannot trust it. The investments you were making were about maintaining your illusion, feeding your illusion. Beginners tend to ask the question when they do a retreat or something like this. Oh, how can I take this piece from here to there? Well, it would be lost. But why do you have to go back there? What is there which is so important? Well, the basis of your illusion. That's what's there. So whatever you learn, it doesn't matter. From wherever you stand, it doesn't matter. Whatever your judgments are, that you deserve it, or that you are undeserving, it doesn't matter. It matters is find your trail, and you can do this only with intense focus. Only through the fire. And that is for those who embrace it completely and devote their times to it. I will answer your question now. Thanks, Sriman, to be here for us. My question is, while I sat there with my eyes closed for as long as I can, what do I do when thought arise? Do I say in my head, who am I? Or do I turn my attention away? Well, both are valid, but it's not about. If there's no guidance, this is what I've been talking about previously. Not sure if you're following this, but if you're not, you will listen to it after. You can do, as far as techniques, there are many techniques, and they are not all the same. But for the beginner, the one who wants to start the fire, anyone will do. Because this is about showing intent, showing dedication, showing persistency, showing that you really want it. And the fire just only comes when it is convinced that it is so. And that's just the beginning, because then you'll be tested to see if that's really what you want. And many fall from this stage. Then it is much difficult to rise again. Not impossible, of course, but it keeps getting difficult more and more. So if guidance is not there, if the fire is not there, any technique will do, but preferably a technique of focus, that you are focusing on the technique. Abstracting, and this come back to who am I, it's not really that suitable for that beginning, because mind is too dense. It's more difficult to get focus. So a technique where you focus your mind into it, you hold on to it. A kriya, for example, mantra, like that mantra that I've made a video about. It will be more, not easy, but more productive. Let's put it this way, more productive. And then it is guidance. That defines what technique is more appropriate. So previous to guidance, just pick up one that you can focus your mind to it and work on it. If I would answer this question, this better or that better, I would be giving guidance. And for this, give guidance. This, I need to see some things first. But to begin with, just pick one. And one that you feel that there's some connection to that practice and that it requires focus of the mind. And then it's about intensity, dedication, and sincerity. And eventually, something will start happening to set you on a new trail. But how can this ever happen if, well, there's no room for a new trail? If you say, well, I have this life, this is what I'm doing, this is my life, this is the people I like, this is where I want to stay, and I will fit meditation here and here to fit into this, to these circumstances. It doesn't work like that. A seeker of truth has to be open to follow guidance wherever. It doesn't mean that he will have to move. It means that he must be willing to move. That he must be there, just free to move if guidance points it, or free to stay if guidance says so. You cannot fit guidance into a narrative. You will have to adapt. And fire doesn't come. It may come, sometimes it comes to test you, but it will not stay if things are not in the proper place. So the absence of life in your spiritual practices, and I'm not talking about these nice experience and all of that. Anyone can have those. And those who don't have them, sometimes they are luckier than those who have them because, well, less distraction. Talking about fire, the presence of the life of the process. And it's the difference between a living body and a dead one. One has life, the other hasn't. Another mark of the life of the process is intensity. I will answer your question now. Just a little bit. I will not read all. Well, I will just tell you that these feelings you're having in meditation, they are, like I said previously, they are directing you to something which is not really at your reach, but they are a need. The place where you stand in your life, well, that fire wants to come, it wants to take its place, but the buildings around it, circumstances, are too dense, too rigid. So there are messages that are coming to you and not being understood. supporting not knowing anything, and sitting in the same way, feeling of solitude and sitting again. Yes, it is like this. There are many experiences like this, many periods of this loneliness and pain and not knowing anything and still have to continue. And this will happen at the different levels, at different levels. At this level where you're experiencing this is giving you a message. And the message is clear. You are still far away. Come closer. You have to come closer. You will have to understand what that means. But these experiences, they will come at different levels of the path. Same experience, but for different reasons. They will all convey a message. And it's up to the seeker to get the message or not. And depending on the level of, well, of sincerity, the meaning can fit your life or it doesn't. And if it doesn't, well, you won't get it. Because it's not guaranteed. Like you're saying, there's no guarantees. No. For the seeker of truth, those who feel themselves very important, VIP as I call them, oh, okay, I will meditate, but if I have a guarantee that I'll succeed. The real seeker of truth, he cannot stop. Stopping is not an option. Guarantees, no guarantees, he cannot stop. That's not a choice. So these kinds of experiences, these feelings will undergo at different levels. And that this level is telling you this. Look around. Things are not in the right place. Come closer. This is what is telling. Well, I think it's all covered. At this stage, the fire has begun a little bit, but like any fire, if you have seen, it starts to burn a little bit, but if you don't put more wood on top of it, it starts to go down. So when you see it starting to go down, you have to find some wood and put on top of it. Spiritual practice is the same. And the wood usually is your attachments, your desires, your securities, all of these things, the basis of your illusion. This is the wood, the fuel for the fire of the meditation process, of the freedom process. Okay, so that's it for today. Next satsang will be Wednesday, 9 a.m. in the morning, Brazilian time, UTC -3. Till then, make the best use of your time, because that's all that matters, nothing else. Oh, so I'm getting here that probably Wednesday. We'll see. Probably Wednesday. We'll see. Okay. But desligaste aí?